Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Well, I've got an exciting new build to share with you guys today. Today we have the brand new, about to be released in about a month and a half, 2 months, 1/35 scale M10 Achilles tank destroyer. And the Achilles tank destroyer is based on the American M10 from World War II, but changed up a little bit for the British. In fact, it's got a 17-pounder gun in it instead of the 3-inch gun that the American one had. The turret's changed, and a little bit of the upper hull is changed on it there. But a beautiful kit. It is all new tooling because the parts that are from the M10 are only from a year ago, so that's all brand new as well. So it's a great kit, goes together beautifully. And like I was saying, it should be out in about a month and a half or so. So it's going to be a fabulous kit, especially if you like British armor from World War II. Now you can see I'm changing it up a little bit here. You're actually seeing the actual built model at the beginning of the video. So I'm clearly filming the intro at the very end of the video. This way you can kind of see what you're in for going into it. So had a lot of fun doing this one. So let's get started. Okay guys, to start off we are dealing with a non-bathtub style hull, as I like to call it, and we have to first assemble part of the inside here first before we put the sides on. And then once we get that glued on, we have our side pieces that we can mount into place here. So it's not a very difficult thing, but this is also going to help line up. So you want to make sure you get this nice and squared, which is actually pretty easy to do because it is got little pins inside there. So we can go ahead and glue this on as well. Now remember, when the kit comes out, it will be molded in a olive drab color plastic. We have a gray one here because this is just like a very early sample copy that are hot off the presses, so to speak. So I'll go ahead and get this side glued on, and once we get that on, I've gone ahead and built the front and back sub-assemblies for the transmission cover as well as the rear. Okay, we've gone ahead and glued on the final drives, and as I was saying earlier, we have the front and back sub-assemblies already done here. And the reason we did that is this is the exact same build for this portion of it as the M10 that we did a while ago. So rather than bore you with just how the basics go together on there, it just goes together just as you would imagine with Tamiya. Basically snaps on there. So I'll go ahead and glue these on, and then I'll show you how the wheel assemblies go together. Okay, the wheels all have a outer dish, or actually I should say an inside dish, the way I'm going to put it on, with a pin and notch in there that you want to line up perfectly. We're going to use tweezers to do that. That way we can slightly adjust it back and forth, because you want to make sure that is perfectly smooth or you're going to have an uneven wheel. And now I'll quickly just show you how the rest of the bogey wheel suspension goes together. Okay, we've got all of the bogey wheel suspension pieces put together. Now, hopefully you'll notice in the little fast forward portion of me showing we put it together, you'll notice that there is a left and right way of putting them on there. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you build 3 each way, so when you finally do get to attach them here, you'll have just the right amount. And of course, they're going to easily glue into the side here. You can see that pin lines right up in the back there, and that'll lock it right into place. And we've put together the drive sprocket. There is a pressure or poly cap inside there that'll lock that into place there. And I will go ahead and put all of those pieces on. And the track that we have in this kit is a rubber band track, and that will get just glued together with regular cement, and then we can snap it on right over the entire piece. Okay, we are going to attach the idler shafts now too, and you'll notice that there are a bunch of little notches in there that correspond on both sides, and that is so you can adjust it. The standard way is to try to line up that whole piece right there, that little circle, the big peg, as well as this other piece into that angle. And it shows you in the instructions, but you want to make sure you get that right. That way, when you go to put this on, the tracks will fit properly. And with that being said, there is a poly cap inside here, which to get the tracks on, they want you to wedge that in like that, strap it onto the front there, get them into the teeth of the drive sprocket, and then you can just slide that on like that, and you have one side of your tracks all put together. Okay, now we're going to assemble the upper hull, starting from the inside out, and we've got this little piece of firewall that we need to put in, and I've already gone ahead and glued in the teeth for the turret ring here. And I actually made a little mistake when I was calling out the original video of this, just to do the quick review. I said that the upper hull was the same as the M10. It's not. This is actually a new piece, completely retooled. And in fact, it has quite a few less of those little bumps that were they're like an attachment point that were all down the side on here. So they've completely retooled this portion as well. But back to this side here, once we get that firewall glued in, we can go ahead and attach the sponsons. These are the covers right here. So that way, so when you look down inside, you're not going to see light throughout the drive, through the drive wheels. And we'll get that glued in on both sides down there, and we'll get those glued on, and then we can also glue the rear portion of it on right just like that. So I will get those glued on, we'll come back and we'll show you what we have to do on the top of the vehicle. And the only main thing we have to do on the front of the vehicle is to attach all the little like light guards and all of these little bolt heads, which I showed you where they all go on earlier. We also went ahead and put the 7 gas cap filler caps on there as well. So we've got lots of little accessories, and I'll kind of show you all that kind of sped up right now. Okay, I have all of the little accessory pieces that we're going to glue on for this stage, and that includes like the hatches, the light guards, all the other little pieces. Now, the things that I haven't glued on yet are the pieces that are called out in the instructions, like the tools and all the little of the extra track cleats, things like that, that we want to paint separately and apply last. So that's why there's still all these little holes left all over here. There is a few other little minor things that we'll put on, but I'm always worried about breaking some of that extra stuff off, especially in the stage where I'm handling it a lot. And the very next stage now is we just have to go ahead and glue this into place, and should just slap, yep, just like that. Nice tight fit. We'll put a little bit of cement on there and get this gap completely closed down as you see it there, and it's ready to go. Now, with this portion of it done, other than those few little accessories that I mentioned, we can go ahead and start working on the turret. And the very first thing we're going to start working on is the 17-pounder gun. I should point out something too. I am actually not going to go ahead and glue this down yet. And the reason for, I think this is going to make it a lot easier if we can take this all apart to airbrush inside there. So we can go and airbrush inside here and here and get everything done and some of the accessories that are going to go inside. So if we leave this just in place but not actually glued down, I think it's going to be a little bit easier to work on. Okay, as you can see, I've glued most of the parts on the inside in after we assembled this here, and that's actually pretty easy to do. It says to build them up first, but I actually was able to have no problem to get all the racks and stuff in there. And that way we can leave out certain things like the ammunition, parts like that that we want to paint separately. Now we are attaching the counterweights on the back of the turret. And these are obviously a very different shape than the American version is. And they just fit right into place here. And there's a couple of straps that we'll put across here as well that will strap all that on. And we also have the top here of what little of the top is of the turret that protects the gun portion of it. And then the only other major piece we need to put on is the mantlet cover here, which will fit right into place here, and then of course the barrel. Now I just put the front and two sides of the muzzle brake together, and then we've got to do a little sanding and stuff on that, but the rest of the barrel is all one piece, and then it will slide right down inside here. So there are just a few other little brackets and things we need to put on in there, minus anything like shells and things like that that are going to get painted separately. So I'm going to go ahead and put all the rest of the little accessories on, everything but all the stuff that get painted a different color, and then we'll come back and show you what it looks like. Here is what the model looks like with the majority of the body parts in place on it now. We've gone and put all the little brackets, all the little hanging pieces, all the little accessories, everything basically but the track, extra pieces of track, and the tools, things like that that we want to paint separately. You may also notice that the barrel is now metal, and that is because I was digging through my box of other products looking for something, and I found a 17-pounder barrel, and I thought, well, I already have it, might as well use it on it. It's got a really nice brass muzzle brake on it, so we went ahead and put that one on top of there. Now there's a few other little accessories, like I was saying, we're going to paint those up separately, but now that we have the vehicle put together, we've taken the tracks off, and now we can start painting the body color. Okay, that's what the Achilles is going to look like with a couple of coats of paint on it now. And the way I got this color, because it calls out for like a British green. And I messed around with a couple of colors, and what I ended up using was Mission Model Paints RAF Dark Green, about 60% of that, and then 40% of Mission Model Paint just regular green. And I have to say, I really like the way that comes out. It's not super dark, so we can still see a lot of detail, but it's a nice overall color. Now I will go ahead and start painting the black rubber on there, and we're also going to put a coat of clear coat on there to seal our paint job in, since we like the way it came out. And then we can put the tracks on, the tools, and start weathering. There are only 5 decals for this whole vehicle here, so pretty easy. We're using a little Mark Fit Strong as our base, and we're just going to put our decals on. There's 2 up front on each one of the fenders, 1 in the middle, and then the exact same 2 on that. So we'll go ahead and put those on, let them dry completely, put maybe another coat or 2 of Mark Fit on there, especially to go over any of these bumps here. And after it fully dries, we are going to shoot it with another coat of Tamiya's. Actually, on this one, we're going to use Tester's dull coat on it to seal it in. Tamiya's dull coat is a little strong on decals, and we'll get all the decals sealed in, and then we can move on to weathering. I don't normally paint parts on the sprue, but in this particular case, it's actually going to work out a little bit easier. What I've first done is I've sprayed all of the shells, including the racks here, with a gloss black. And now we're going to use a Vallejo gold color, because they don't actually have a brass, but the gold looks pretty similar to brass. And we're going to paint up all of the shells, get them all painted really well, and then we can go back over with a regular brush and paint the tips, as well as any of the actual racks themselves. And most of this is not seen very well because it's tucked up underneath the sides of the sponson, but you will be able to see some of the brass sticking through. And here they are all painted up and glued into place, as well as the rounds inside the turret. We've got those all ready to go, so we can put that on. And remember, we have not attached any of the upper and lower hull together, as well as the turret. This way it makes it a lot easier to put all those parts inside there. If you look down inside the turret, you might be able to notice that you can see part of the teeth for the ring that goes around. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking a little metallic pigment powder, and we are just going to highlight just the teeth area down here. And that way, if you do look inside the turret, you will be able to see that the teeth are worn because they are rubbing together constantly. And we're also going to use that same pigment powder to highlight some wear and tear on the gun. Just lightly, and you see it really picks out all of the detail. And we can also put a little wash on it later on to show some shadows. And we'll just put this a little bit on here and kind of blend it back and forth, and you can see all the parts start to really pop up. And we can also do that on any of these other little areas like the edges of the seats. You can imagine guys grabbing it, and even the inside in here. You want to go real light on it too. We don't want our scratches to be too large. And we're using our black Tamiya panel liner right now to go over some of these areas that we just went over with the chrome or the metal pigment, and just going to create some shadows just lightly. Now that we have all of the shell racks inside and we've done that chrome effect, we can go ahead and attach the upper and lower hull now by putting a little bit of cement up front and a little bit in the back and just locking that into place. The rest of the weathering, because it's so hard to see inside there with all the other stuff, we'll be able to do by just taking the turret off. Almost forgot one thing before you glue the top and bottom together. Make sure you put the tracks on. Because of the lip right here on the tank, it's very difficult to put the tracks in place if you glue the top and bottom together. We're going to start out weathering the inside of this a little bit by creating a little bit of dirt and grime inside there. And I like to use the dust and dirt deposits, brown earth, for this particular build. I think it's going to add a nice amount of dirt and grime in there. We're going to use that along with a little bit of engine grime because it's kind of like a black color that we'll put just in the corners. We'll kind of like blend all of this together. And you've got a little bit of working time because this is enamel, so you can kind of blend it into all the little cracks in the floor and on the diamond plate as well. And use a little bit of the black, or the engine grime I should say, just in some of the little areas to kind of make some of this detail pop out a little bit more. And this can be kind of subtle because it's really hard to see the floor of the vehicle, but you do see a little bit of it in there. Okay, now we're at the stage that we can go ahead and apply all of the tools that we've built up. Now, I've already built and weathered these up in the sense, and I've got a video online as well that shows you how to do the individual tools to get a nice kind of worn wood effect. You can check that out. It's just from probably about a year ago now, but it's easy to find on there. So we'll go ahead and put all of our tools into place right now. And then we've also put the side track cleats on here as well. Those just get glued into place. So we've got a few tools to put on. I'll get all those on and we'll come back and show you what it looks like once all the tools are in place. Okay, we've got a variety of different types of dirt deposits, muds, and streaking rust, things like that, that we're going to go ahead and start weathering up the bottom of the tank, working into the suspension first. First thing I want to do is I want to put a little bit of a thick mud to kind of give it some right onto the base right there. Well, we'll wipe that off in a minute. But we want to pack in a little bit of a thick mud up inside here. And that'll give it a little bit of texture and a little bit of depth as we go forward on it. I'll try to get this off right now and then have to wipe it off later. And after we do that, we'll clean off any excess off the road wheels. And then it's just a matter of we're going to go over with a few little sand deposits, some lighter colors and kind of just blend it together, just so we don't get a monotone mud color. And then the same thing with some darker tones. Like this one happens to be a Kursk color sand, but it's just a medium color brown. And we'll just go around and start blending all of that in the back over there. And we'll also start putting, I want to use some of the lighter sand in deposits and start weathering up the fronts of the track, or the sides of the tracks here. And these will all dry really flat in kind of a dusty type look for it. And that'll give us a nice effect. So I'm going to go ahead and start blending all of these together, and we'll come back and show you what it looks like once it's dry. Okay, the mud effect has dried now, and I'm now using a little pigment, a little sienna soil, and we are just putting on a little amount to give it some highlights up inside here to make it look like some of the mud has dried. And we'll kind of work on that and blend that in. And we might even go ahead and use a little bit of a darker soil in there too to kind of get a multi-tone effect as we go down the line. And here is our completed model. And I'll first go over a couple of the things that I've gone ahead and done to it after the last little bit of video you saw. And I've gone and taken some of the pigment powder and lightly dusted on some of the upper surfaces to give it kind of a dusty effect. We also went over the tracks a little bit more with the dust to kind of create the fact that it's gotten dirty in the past and it's got a little bit of a built-up dirt and grime on it. Now what I'll do here is we'll go ahead and turn the turntable on. The kit is brand new from Tamiya. It only shares a small number of the pieces from the M10 American tank destroyer that came out about a year ago, which that itself was all new tooling. And I was actually quite surprised the number of parts on this kit that are brand new. Didn't realize that the upper hull is completely brand new on this kit, as well as the turret, the gun. So I'd say about 60% of the parts on this kit are brand new. Of course, the fit and finish are second to none. It's a Tamiya kit after all, and everything just falls together exactly the way you'd expect it to go. The kit has a retail of $51 in the United States and is due out in late May, so not too far in the future. I want to thank you guys as always for watching, and please stay tuned because we have many more videos coming.